Now to our first conversation. Globally, inflation has been a major headache for central bankers, raising lending rates to tame inflation, increasing lending costs for businesses, and possibility of a recession, looming. And many marketers and budget holders may reach for a familiar playbook that's cutting advertising budgets and laying off, marketing staff to protect margins. But is that the right move? Let's talk to Mr. Steve Babayekona, President, Association of Advertising Agencies of Nigeria, and MD, CEO Extreme Ideas, joining us right here in the studio. Great to have you. Good morning.
Thank you, Ladi. Thank you for inviting me.
You're welcome. So these are quite extraordinary times, for businesses. And, when there's a risk of recession, you ask yourself as a business, how do you attract, customers? Do you still continue with your marketing budget, your advertising? Do you still carry on with that, even, at the risk of a recession? What do you think?
Well, I mean, usually the knee-jerk reaction that most companies will have when there's the economy is going south, like we've witnessed, and it's not even just Nigeria, it's a global situation, like you rightly observed, is that knee-jerk reaction is to try to cut advertising budget. And over time, history has shown that that is a big mistake. You need to advertise even in terms of crisis like we have on our hands economically like this, because, and the reason is simple, the brand that is top of mind for consumers in these dire times will be the dominant brand when we come out of it. Because see, economy goes in cycle, right? There's times when it's going to go south, but honestly, once it gets settled down, we hit rock bottom, we're going to move up. And when it moves up, consumers never forget the brand that held their hands in their times, which is why my counsel would be to brand owners and to marketing people, keep the budget
intact. Talking about, holding hands, what does holding hands entail, through a recession?
It's been engaging with your consumers, talking to them and making them understand that you see reason, being able to add extra value to be able to compensate for the... Look at the economic situation in Nigeria, for instance. How many brands are coming out to identify with the consumers who are struggling now with the rise in the price of petroleum, rise in the price of power and all the other. So consumers brands need to come up with much more innovative ideas that will engage and give extra value to consumers. That's what we should be doing at this point.
And hopefully the consumers don't forget you, remembering that you actually held their hands, through the bad times.
I guarantee you, consumers are like the elephant, they never forget.
Right.
Especially for the brands that stood by them in dire times.
And it's definitely been a tough, first half of 2023. How would you paint a picture? How did the demand for advertising fare, from businesses?
Well, I mean, if you look at it, let's start from the macroeconomy, maybe a modest 2.3% GDP growth in Nigeria in the first half of the year. I think demand for advertising spiked a little bit because of the election. So some advertising agencies were able to do some work for political parties and whatever. But then beyond all of that is that post-COVID period, we are now in the process of recovery. So brands are, all of the whole distribution channels that collapsed during the COVID period are up and running. So there are a lot of activities. So I say there's a modest upswing in activities in the advertising sector.
And talking about, modest, now we've been through the first half.
Yeah.
Looking towards the second half now, how is it looking? Are there any prospects of more business coming in?
I think the good thing is that we have a new government in place. So the onus is on the new government to begin to put in place macroeconomic policy that will match with the monetary policy, because we saw dissonance in the past between the monetary policy and the fiscal policy, so we need to see a convergence. And I think to give credit to the new president, you see all of that happening. We need to see more of that happening quickly. We hope the new ministers will be in place as quickly as possible. And once that happens, I'm hoping that we'll see a little bit of bounce in the economy of Nigeria, and that will trickle down to the advertising space as well.
And talking about getting that bounce, and attracting, foreign investment, definitely the country needs some kind of facelift,
Absolutely.
Some kind of, rebranding. What would you say is the best way to, rebrand Nigeria at this time to be that, top destination for investors globally?
We have to take care of all of the whole problems surrounding this country, the issue of security, and all of those things. You can't rebrand when you have problems. So first we must do a bit of house cleaning, which I'm so confident that this new government will be able to do. Once we do that, then we can begin to talk about rebranding. But before we even rebrand, I think we must talk about the issue of unity. I think that is the biggest situation that we face. I don't think that this country has ever been this divided. So we need to heal all of the wounds, and then we can start talking about rebranding.
Yeah, the elections did open our eyes to
Absolutely.
How divided we were.
Absolutely.
But I hope that post-election we might get back together.
Again, I'll say kudos to the president. I think he's making his body language seems to suggest that he wants all of those things to happen. So we just need to see more of that, and then we'll see how we go from there.
All right, let's look at how our PR industry looks out there. We see earlier this month Nigeria broke a 70-year-old creative jinx.
Yeah.
At the Cannes Festival. Tell us about this. Why did it take 70 years for Nigeria to break that jinx? And what is this jinx?
Really? A foreign journalist asked me the same question in Cannes last week, and I told them it's like asking a country like Netherlands, powerful football nation, how come you've not won the World Cup? In spite of all the appearances in finals. So the jinx we broke was winning the Cannes Lions for Nigeria. So Extreme Ideas, my company, broke that 70-year jinx by winning the first Cannes Lion for Nigeria and for West Africa at the recently concluded Cannes Lions Festival of Creativity. And for me, I'm really excited. It's a big win, not just for the company, but for the entire nation.
Yeah, and talking about the nation, how does this, impact how we are, perceived, out there, the industry?
No, Ladi, if you were in Cannes this year, they ask you, where are you from? Once you say Nigeria, you are automatically a superstar because the news of that Nigeria's win was all over. And that's why I'll use this opportunity, again, to reach out to the federal government, the state governor. They must host and celebrate us for this win because it's not just a win for the advertising industry, it's a win for the country.
Yeah, quite a big one there. And, this sector definitely has, been through a lot, looking at, regulation and all of that. You are the president of that association. What have we seen, so far, in terms of, regulating the industry?
Shout out to ACON. They've made all of the right rules. The former president also signed a new ACON law, bill into law. And so we're seeing a bit of house cleaning. Of course, there's a bit of disagreement between some sectors who don't agree with the law, but the law will take its course, so we'll see how we revisit all of the tough issues that needs to be discussed. But for now, we're happy with the new law, and we're happy that we're making progress.
I remember sometime, content creators were going to start paying, taxes, at some point, all those funny, content creators we see on social media, on Instagram. How did that work out? Are they paying those taxes?
I think they're in conversation, and they're not even telling them to pay taxes. I think when you advertise, the ACON has the right to regulate advertising. So you can post your content, you're not paying anything, but if you're advertising, then you have a question to answer with ACON.
And it's not easy knowing when... Is it that easy to identify when they're advertising?
Once I say Ladi Williams is a good anchor, please patronize Ladi Williams of Channels TV. That's advertising.
Right.
And
so
the law is very clear.
When they mask it with comedy and all of that...
It doesn't matter what you mask it with. Once you are proposing and trying to sell any brand or service to people, you're advertising.
Fantastic.
And the new law of ACON is pretty clear on what
so
advertising
are the content creators actually...
Well, I think they're in conversation with ACON, so hopefully they will be able to get with the program.
And penalties?
Well, I'm not ACON.
But I'm sure there are going to be penalties.
Of course there will be penalties.
If they
That's why they are the regulator. If they flaunt the rules, then ACON will have to address it.
All right. So what are you seeing for the industry, going forward?
I see progress. I see, having broken the jinx and winning Cannes for the first time, I see just more progress. I know this will open door for all the other very creative agencies we have in Nigeria to be able to go and take a shot and win as well. And I'm looking forward to for AAA and my association of Advertising Agencies of Nigeria, collaborating with the federal government to take the rebranding of this country and reposition this country when we think we've done enough of the house cleaning.
Fantastic, because Nigeria is a great
The giant
nation.
of Africa.
The giant
you know,
of Africa.
I mean, in Cannes, I had the flag of Nigeria. We were flying it all over the place, and I feel proud as a Nigerian. I have no other country. I'm proud of my country.
I feel proud now. Thank you so much, Mr. Steve Babeko, President, Association of Advertising Agencies of Nigeria,
Thank you for
and the
having me.
MD CEO Extreme Ideas. It was great having you today.
Thank you so much for having me.